Pregnancy, am I right? Guess what we're talking about in today's video?
So today's episode is all about pregnancy and postpartum fitness. Now we train a lot of new moms here and pregnant women, so we do have a lot of experience on the topic, and it's fair to say that they have unique struggles that are worth mentioning and worth discussing, especially as it pertains to fitness.
Absolutely. Not only struggles, but I feel like a lot of people have a fear of strength training or working out in general, especially since everybody is always telling you like, oh, don't do this, don't do that. You're very sensitive. They want to take care of you. Don't lift this heavy thing. But in our experience and according to all the research, it's the complete opposite. You want to be active. You want to be fit. Obviously, don't do anything crazy. Don't go skydiving, but you know what I mean?
We're going to be busting a lot of these myths in today's podcast, so
all right, Jamie.
Stick around. I'm a little embarrassed to say that I didn't ever quite understand the struggle of having a newborn and caring for a newborn until I went through it myself. I think that's a pretty common thing where you could kind of see somebody else experiencing it, but until you go through it yourself, you realize like, wow, it's a pretty difficult thing to go through.
Yeah, I remember your hair was all dark before you had the baby, right?
It's crazy.
It's wild.
It's just a year, and look at this. My wife and I went through that not too long ago, and it gave me a lot of appreciation for moms and what they go through, and helped me become a better trainer to work with that population. So caring for a newborn is one of those times in life where you're legitimately might be too busy to exercise or too overwhelmed.
Too tired.
So we're going to talk about some of those difficulties, and we're going to give solutions to when you feel like you have no time, or how to manage your time and how to come up with a solution to be able to squeeze a little bit of exercise or wellness into your life, because it's definitely needed.
And of course, it's all going to be on a case-by-case basis, because not every person is the same. Not every pregnancy is the same. You might feel bad on one, you might feel good on the other one. So everything is on a case-by-case basis. You can't just say like, these are the right answers. Of course, everything is going to vary. So take all of this. It's all going to be valuable information, but take it all with a grain of salt.
Okay, so you mentioned that a lot of people are scared to lift weights or exercise, and they don't really know what to do or what they should be doing when they're pregnant. I feel like most doctors these days encourage women to be active because they understand what the science and the research shows, but still there are very pervasive myths that are just been going on forever of don't do this and don't do that, which a lot of them are ridiculous, because I always point out the fact that, let's say you have a kid, like a mom has a kid, you have a toddler, you have a second kid, or you're pregnant with a second kid, and it's like you're carrying your 30, 35, 40-pound kid all the time in weird, awkward angles, but then that same mom is afraid to carry 10-pound weights at the gym. You know, it doesn't make any sense. No. You're carrying weights all day, even harder. No. So that's just one reason why it's ridiculous to avoid strength training. But more important than that, there's a lot of good research now on exercise and pregnancy. There was actually one not too long ago where they took a bunch of CrossFitters and they split them into 3 groups. One group, the women kept training just as hard, the same intensity as they were training pre-pregnancy. The other group dialed it back a little bit, and then the third group didn't work out at all. And what they found was that the group that had the same intensity had the most favorable births and labors, like less complications and things like that, even in the group that dialed it back, which to me that was a surprising finding, because I've always advised people to dial it back a little bit. You don't have to be going crazy when you're pregnant, but that was very surprising. And of course, we're not advocating that you keep training as hard as you possibly can. Like you said, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis, and of course, some pregnancies are a lot more complicated than others, and sometimes you just feel really tired when you're pregnant. So those are all things to consider. But it's really good to know that not only can you work out, but you're encouraged to work out.
You're encouraged to work out, you're encouraged to stay fit, and I feel like in the long run, that all helps with your energy systems, and that's just going to help you overall, whether you already had the baby or you're still pregnant. That the energy is always going to be necessary. I feel like that's our biggest complaint with moms, new moms, pregnant moms, is I'm exhausted, and I don't blame them. It must be hard to sleep with a newborn crying, or with the belly, or feeling nauseous and all that. It must not be very comfortable. So the more energy you have, I feel like the better. So
absolutely,
even if you don't have the energy, I know, and it sounds like a double-edged sword. Like, I don't have energy, how am I going to have energy to work out? But it's the tough decision now that's going to help, I think, in the long run, give you more energy and make you feel like you're ready to attack on the day, and all that good stuff.
It's cool too that I never really thought about, is that like going through labor is kind of like strength training. Like, you have to be strong to get through that, and even when you're like tell you to push and all that, it almost feels like reps. It literally feels like reps because I remember it was like a countdown, like we're gonna count to 10 and you're gonna just push. And I remember like squeezing every muscle. Man, this is like a workout.
Knowing you, you're probably giving.
I was coaching her.
Anyway, giving your wife rest intervals.
Yeah.
Proper technique. Yeah. So let's say you had a baby, not you, but let's say someone has a baby a few months ago or just recently, and they've been cleared to work out. What are the next actionable steps that you feel like they should take?
So like you mentioned earlier, there's no universal answer. It's gonna depend on where you are as far as what kind of pregnancy did you have and how your body feels after that pregnancy. And of course your doctor will talk to you about that and clear you. So there is no universal answer. That has to be said before we start. Nope. And then very basic advice, but it's just rings true, is to listen to your body. You know, one thing I've noticed from training a lot of postpartum women is that some of them feel like ready to roll. You know, 5 weeks later, like, okay, I feel good. Yep. I feel like I could work out. And then others are like, they're still struggling, they're still in pain, they still have some complications. So if that's your case, obviously listen to your body. Don't just say like, oh, well, I heard strength training is good postpartum, so let me just get into it.
Yeah.
No. And then of course I would also advise to just start slow. Start with a very basic version of what you were doing either through pregnancy or before pregnancy, because it's what your body's used to. But then dial it back like, you know, to at least like 25-30% of what you used to do. See how that feels, and then just start increasing progressively from there.
Yeah, there's no rush. And if you're ever uncertain of what you're doing, or if you're ever struggling with knowing what to do, seek out help from a professional. There's good trainers out there. If you have a friend that's gone through it, maybe I know at least one. If you have a friend that's gone through it and maybe they can help you out, they can give you some advice, some tips. If you don't feel comfortable with that, like I said, go to somebody that knows what they're doing, and they'll be able to help you out and make you feel more comfortable in the whole situation.
Yep, that's great advice. So now let's talk about something where we touched on last week, but now we're gonna get a lot more specific about it. So moms that are too busy to exercise, or just overwhelmed, they just have a lot going on, they're caring for a small child, and you know they just don't feel like they have the time. Let's give them a few pieces of advice, and we can help them out a little bit.
Let's give them a pat on the back.
Well, yeah, we'll deserve that. So one of the things I would say is micro workouts, right? And when I say micro, I'm talking
working out with micro.
Of course.
Yeah.
From Dirty Jobs.
Dirty Jobs.
That's my boy. But you know, 10 minutes. It sounds ridiculous, but 10 minutes is a lot better than 0.
Even if it's like 10 minutes of. I had a client who would tell me she would dance around the house, and I was like, sounds awesome. It's fun. You're moving. You're enjoying yourself, which is, you know, very important. I think it's one of my most important parts of a proper exercise regime is make sure you're enjoying yourself. Mm-hmm. I always say that. So something you find fun, even if it's dancing while you clean the house, like we said in our last episode, walking your pets, hanging out with if you have other kids, doing all that stuff is forms of exercise. Even if it's not just like strength training, running, those things that we classify as exercise. Using your baby as a weight. Some babies are heavier than others, so tread lightly.
Could be some real strength training there. And it sounds like we're joking, but
no, it's serious.
You can work out with your baby.
They love it. The baby loves it.
So yeah, we did that when our kid was you know, just a few months old, and we're just like 6 months old, and we just do sit-ups with her and squats and all that kind of stuff, and she was just like huge smile on her face.
Yeah, that's cute bonding moments too.
The other thing too is there are workouts out there. For example, on our YouTube channel, on the BFit YouTube channel, there's a whole playlist that we made during COVID that's like 10-15 minute workouts. You know, good strength training. You don't need any equipment. It was just all body weight. It's a circuit, so you're getting a little bit of cardio in as well. So seek out those YouTube channels, seek out those resources that, again, you don't have to think about, oh, I don't have an hour to go to the gym, drive to the gym. Don't drive to the gym while your baby's napping. You take a little nap first as well, but then, you know, set aside 10 minutes and give yourself one of those micro workouts, and you're gonna feel much better after. It might be a little bit hard to get yourself going, but you're gonna feel better after. Yeah,
then incrementally you can start going up. If you do 10 minutes today, 15 the next day, it's all gonna build upon itself. So there's no need to, like I said, rush back into I have to do an hour of intense strength training. Like, no, it could be little things, baby steps, no pun intended, to get you to that ultimate goal.
And then the other tip I have is, and this obviously doesn't apply to everyone, you know, not everyone is lucky enough to have like a good supporting cast when they have a kid, but if you are one of those people that has grandparents or a partner that can kind of help you out, and you can set up some sort of schedule where like, hey, can you take care of the kid 2 times a week for a few
Yeah.
hours so I can go and have like me time. I
Yeah.
feel like that's so important. And
Huge.
a lot of times moms feel guilty about that because it's like, oh, anytime that I'm not with my kid. But I would argue that it's not selfish at all to take care of yourself, because you need to be in good health in order to care for others.
Absolutely.
So that little bit of me time, a few times a week, even as little as you can manage it, it really goes a long way for your physical and mental health.
Absolutely. That's good advice, yeah.
You took mine, absolutely. If somebody says like, why do I need to do strength training? Like, I'm tired, I'm taking care of this kid. Like, why is it important for me? What are the benefits?
Yeah, like why can't I just take a nap? That feels like, you said, listen to my body. My body's exhausted. Listen to my body is when I want to take a nap. But exercise helps tremendously with your energy levels. It's going to help you, like we said earlier, feel more energized. It's going to help reduce your stress, actually, with the release of the endorphins. And I feel like that's something huge for new parents, is all that stress, especially if it's your first baby. You're stressed with, you might not really know what you're doing, or you might feel like uncertain. And that stress relief is huge. And there's really no healthier way to
deal with
your stress than exercising.
Pregnancy takes a toll on your body, and a lot of women, you're losing muscle, you feel weakened, your core muscles are weak. So of course strengthening is an obvious benefit, strengthening your body. Another interesting thing is that breastfeeding can actually increase the risk of osteoporosis. So strength training can combat that, like I talked about a few podcasts ago. Yep. So that's an important one that people don't think about too much. So yeah, as far as like enhancing your mood, and then of course, it's probably the most common reason that women come to see us after they have a kid is like they feel like they want to get their body back. There's no better way to start losing some of that excess fat than exercising. And another interesting benefit that people don't think about a lot, but it's blatantly obvious once we point it out, is that there is functional carryover from lifting weights to your everyday life. One of the things I noticed from, again, going through that process myself of having a kid is how many things you have to carry. You carry the little booster seat with a baby in it, and you're always carrying things like asymmetrically. You have the baby on one side and the bag on the
farmers
other.
Carry.
Yeah, it's like, I was surprised. I was like, man, like if I was like a mom that just gave birth, like this is kind of tough. Like sometimes you're carrying 20, 25 pounds on one arm. And if you're lifting weights at the gym, all that stuff gets easier, legitimately does.
Yep.
So a lot of times people don't think about that, is that you're carrying things and you're strength training all day. So you might as well have a more resilient body that can handle all that.
Yep, that's so true. People don't think about that. And that goes as far as carrying the baby, carrying things around the house, and it just facilitates your life overall.
There's the case study. One inspiring story that we have from one of our clients is one of our clients, Annette, who I've been fortunate to train through 2 pregnancies. She was actually able to lose all the baby weight, as they say, in around 6 months, twice.
Impressive.
And she had gained a good amount of weight for both pregnancies, but she was able to lose it all. She came back to training as soon as she was cleared, stayed consistent with it. Her diet wasn't super dialed in. It's not one of these like super strict people, which is also inspiring to know. But the fact that like you look at her now and you would never be able to say,
didn't do a crazy diet.
And you look at her now and you'd never be able to tell that she had a baby 7 months ago.
Another aspect that we didn't mention is that she has the 2 kids and she has one of the most demanding jobs. She's also a lawyer, so I think she's a good candidate for that last video that we did of everybody can make a little bit of time, and it's vital to make that time to take care of yourself, take care of your body, take care of your mind. All the benefits are obvious in her case,
Yep. So go work out.
All right, we'll see you on the next one. Stay pregnant, my friends. Is that a bad ending?